Hello, good evening and welcome. You're watching Times Now. I'm Sagarika Mitra, and on the Monday edition of Blueprint Explosive Exclusive, we are getting you a story from Kerala. Now, viewers, the Namaz row has reignited in Kerala after students in a Christian college demanded a prayer room where they could offer Friday prayers in the college. After being denied permission to offer prayers in the room, the students went ahead and gherowed the principal's office, demanding a special designated space for offering prayers. Following these protests, the Catholic administration of the Nirmala College, the college that is in question, issued a statement saying that space or room cannot be set aside for namaz in an educational institution owned and run by the church, and such demands in a church-run institution is not correct. Now, the administration also assured that the students would be allowed to go to the nearby mosque to offer their prayers.
അവരുടെ മോസ്ക് ഉണ്ട്, അവിടെ വിദ്യാർത്ഥികൾക്ക് പോകാൻ സാധിക്കും. ഏകദേശം ഒരു 20 മീറ്റർ ദൂരത്തിലാണ് ഈ മോസ്ക് സ്ഥിതി ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അവിടെ പോകാനായിട്ടുള്ള അനുവാദം അവർക്കുണ്ട്. അവിടെ പ്രാർത്ഥന നടത്തുന്നതിലും നമുക്ക് ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടില്ല. കാരണം എല്ലാ കോളേജുകളിലും 3/4 മണിക്കൂർ സമയം മാത്രമാണ്, 45 മിനിറ്റ് സമയമൊക്കെയാണ് ഇന്റർവെൽ ഉള്ളത്. പക്ഷേ എറണാകുളത്തിൽ 1 മണിക്കൂർ സമയമുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ആ സമയത്ത് ഈ 10-20 മീറ്റർ ദൂരത്തിലുള്ള പള്ളിയിൽ പോയി വരാൻ അവർക്ക് സാധിക്കും. അതിനുള്ള അവസരം അവർക്കുണ്ട്. അത് ഒരു തരത്തിലും നിഷേധിച്ചിട്ടില്ല എന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്.
Now you heard what the college administration said. After the protest video went viral on social media, the BJP waded into the issue. They are alleging that this is an attempt to destabilize Hindu and Christian educational institutions. The BJP Kerala chief went ahead and said that the true face of religious extremism supported by the Congress and the left has been exposed, and this is completely unacceptable. Demanding that the Pinarayi Vijayan government clear its stand on the issue, he declared that the BJP stands against any such kind of instigation or provocation.
ക്രിസ്ത്യാനികളുടെ വിദ്യാഭ്യാസ സ്ഥാപനത്തിൽ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് നമാസ് നടത്തണം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു വരുന്ന ആളുകൾ സ്വന്തം ആരാധനാലയങ്ങളിൽ സ്ത്രീകൾക്ക് ദൈവത്തിന്റെ പാതിയാണല്ലോ, അവർക്ക് ആരാധന നടത്താനുള്ള സൗകര്യം ഒരുക്കി കൊടുക്കാനാണ് ആദ്യം വരേണ്ടത്. എന്റെ ചോദ്യം, സ്വന്തം സമുദായത്തിലെ സ്ത്രീകൾക്ക് പള്ളിയിൽ പ്രവേശനം നിഷേധിക്കുന്ന ആളുകൾ ക്രിസ്ത്യൻ മാനേജ്മെന്റ് സ്ഥാപനങ്ങളിലും ഹിന്ദു മാനേജ്മെന്റ് സ്ഥാപനങ്ങളിലും പോയി ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് അവിടെ നമാസ് നടത്തണം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് പ്രകോപനപരമാണ്, ഇരട്ടത്താപ്പാണ്.
See, I understand this is an effort to create trouble and disrupt the social harmony existing in the state. Colleges are not for prayer. College is for education. I feel there is some ulterior motive behind that, because I would like to read that see this incident, connecting it with the chopping of the hands of Professor Joseph, which happened in the same region. So the terrorist elements, the fundamentalist elements, this is an area where those elements are still active.
Now, countering the allegations and the charges made by the Bharatiya Janata Party, the SFI also went ahead and issued a statement. They clarified that they were not a part of these protests and do not support religious rituals in campuses, as it will impact the secular spirit of any educational institution. But the LDF government in the state has dismissed the charges. Now, the Kerala Higher Education Minister acknowledged that the issue is serious, but he went ahead and said that the issue has already been resolved.
Actually, they have succeeded in handling it locally. So further discussion is not needed in this regard. This is a very sensitive issue and it's over. So let us close the chapter.
Mithun Vijay Kumar, political analyst, is joining us, and so is Saira Shah Halim, author and activist. Saira, you've gone through the details of everything that has happened. Now, if we just have to sum this up, this is a Christian institution, an educational institution, where a group of students belonging to the Muslim community women students, they came ahead, made a demand, and they said we need a separate room to offer our prayers. The organization went ahead and said, okay, this is not allowed in an institution which is run by the Catholic community. You can go to the mosque that is nearby. Then the students said that, okay, women are not allowed inside the mosque, and that is why we cannot offer our prayers there. But what happened after that is quite alarming. They go ahead and gherao the principal. What is your first response to the way things panned out after the students were not given permission for a room for namaz?
So firstly, good evening. I think this issue has, kind of snowballed into something else. I feel it can be resolved very peacefully, very amicably between the students and the principal and the college. Because see, like I come from an army background. And essentially, we have our all-faith room, whether it's in the residential campus, and all-faith rooms are there, even in headquarters of the army. So now these interfaith spaces are typically neutral, and they accommodate to all faiths, or they include features like washrooms for ablution, flexible furniture, storage for religious items and all that. So I don't really see any reason for any row there. If the authorities of the college were mature enough, they could have handled it amicably, in the sense, and I think in India, everyone is aware that not all mosques allow women to pray. Outside, it's a different story altogether. Like mosques do allow women to play on a separate side. And sometimes on Fridays, it becomes mandatory for practicing Muslims to go out and pray. So I really don't feel any reason why there should be a row over a small thing like that. I mean, the principal could have just said, you can pray in the classroom when nobody is there, or you can pray here, and, why not? So I think these are politically motivated people who want to instigate the people, or rather kind of blame the government for not performing, or whatever the reason is. And I feel that it's time now that we kind of, get used to, practicing, or rather if somebody is, a practicing Muslim, or a practicing Hindu, or practicing Christian, or whatever, I feel spaces can be allowed. And there's no reason for any kind of disharmony or something like that. For example, Jawaharlal Nehru University.
Saira, I'll just come to you. I'll come to you because what you're saying is the issue could have been resolved amicably. You're talking about, organizations taking mature positions when it comes to sensitive subject. But I'll come back to you when you talk about taking a mature position on this. What, according to you, is that mature position? But I'll come back to you on that. Mr. Vijay Kumar, the Bharatiya Janata Party in the state of Kerala has gone ahead and linked this entire controversy to extremist elements. They have made some very, very serious charges. How do you look at the commentary that's coming in from the BJP when the other side says, okay, the issue should have been resolved, it has been resolved amicably? So these charges, these are extremist elements. Exaggeration or justified?
See, first of all, this issue is happening in Kerala, where we had a similar incident where, Professor Joseph's hands were chopped off. And there were some extremist elements operating. That too happened in the college campus itself. And in this particular case, if you talk about the maturity of the college management, they have taken a very mature position. They are allowing 1 hour interval for students to go to mosque and, do their prayers. But I think this particular issue, it actually exposes the absurdity of certain demands that are made in the name of religious freedom. Now, look, there is a mosque that is just 200 meters away from the college. Now, the real problem is that the mosque doesn't allow women to pray inside. So the ones who are creating the drama inside the college campus should actually be protesting outside the mosque, demanding that women should be allowed inside, just like how they did in Sabarimala. In Sabarimala, it was a protest for the right of women. Why can't they do it outside the mosque? Because they just don't have the guts to do it. And what you see here is actually a clear discrimination by the mosque in the name of gender, and they are expecting the college administration to compensate for that. And let's be very honest in this issue. See, the controversy is less about religious freedom and more about, testing the limits of institutional tolerance. That's what you can see here. And that's exactly what BJP is trying to, say is what I believe. So It's actually a tactical, maneuver to challenge established norms under the guise of religious accommodation. And we as a sensible society should not appreciate that or should not allow that, is what I would like to say at this point.
All right. So, Saira, whenever something like you've been saying, and all of us agree that this is, yes, definitely sensitive. The priority number one is to ensure harmony. But when the larger narrative becomes about secularism, let's stand for secularism. Students coming and demanding that they should be allowed a separate room to offer prayers. The college says, okay, we'll give you time, but go do it in a mosque. The mosque doesn't allow women students, and the next attempt is to just gherav the principal, create this kind of ruckus. Where do the norms of secularism go when the rule book states, okay, we cannot give you a separate room because that's not allowed by this organization and it is against the principles of secularism? But after that, whenever you are, there is this kind of ruckus. Is there instigation? Can the instigation be denied?
See, this gherrowing and this instigating and violence on the campus has to be completely, ensured and taken care that these things don't happen on the campus. Because it's a sad reflection on the college administration and also the students who, kind of get instigated to create any kind of animosity on the campus. But here now, I'm just giving a few examples of some of our colleges in India, some of the colleges abroad. For example, JNU, Jawaharlal Nehru, has an interfaith prayer room in the central library, and it offers a very quiet space for students of various religious backgrounds to pray and meditate or whatever they want to do. Now, if you look at, Delhi University itself, some colleges under DU have dedicated particular space for prayer and reflection and accommodated students of different faiths. So I don't think that, just because you allow people to read the Namaz, you're not being secular. I think you're being fairly secular. And it can be, the space can be given to any Tibetan, for Tibetan chanting also, or for pujas also. And I feel India as a society has never ever discriminated anyone if they wanted to pray. Even, airlines should also allow, people to pray as long as you're not blocking
in this case,
somebody's path.
In this case, we are primarily only talking about this case. Many will allude to a pattern. Many will talk about instigation. Many will say, okay, but, those who talk about secularism, how can they come now and not raise questions on the demands made by the students? But specifically on this case, who do you think is right? And who do you think could have handled the situation better?
See, I will say any kind of ruckus should be dismissed, okay? Or any kind of ruckus, any kind of instigation, political instigation should not be allowed at the campus.
But the demand you are saying is fair?
Study.
Saira, you think the demand made is absolutely fair?
No, if there is a sensitive issue where the girls are not being allowed in the mosque, and you know that Namaz is mandatory, especially Fridays, where they need to go out, and this is a sensitive subject. So you cannot create any...
Saira, apologize to interject. I'm just running out of time, but I have to give Mithun one last word. I apologize. Apologize to interject. Mithun, come in. Very little time. Apologize to both of you, but just in brief, what do you have to say to Saira, who says that take a matured stand, no need to escalate?
See, the idea of secularism that we are discussing here is very illogical, is what I feel. Secularism does not mean, appropriating space from educational institutions for, personal religious practices, but it's actually about respecting the boundaries and operational frameworks of these institutions as well. And now let's be clear, demanding special treatment from a college, it not just challenges the, very principles of religious neutrality, but it's also an exploitation of the secular goodwill of that institution. Now, if, we start bending the policies of schools and colleges to accommodate every, specific religious belief, just imagine where this will end. Tomorrow, a group of Hindu students might ask for a prayer room for them. A group of other religious students might ask for a separate prayer room for them. So, and today we see that SFI is actually, protesting for religious freedom. But back in 2016, when actually Pinarayi Vijayan government, they issued an order to stop Onam celebrations inside government offices. There was no protest. Nobody spoke about it.
So totally...
in this...
Totally running out of time, but Mithun and Saira, thank you for joining us today, this evening. The larger question is, can you put secularism on the back burner and Can you put secularism on the back burner and give in to some demands and set a precedent like this, especially in educational institutions? That's the larger question that's being asked. I'd like to thank both our guests for joining us. We'll have to take a short break here on Times Now. Stay with us. We'll be back with more news and updates.